All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap a guide now. I have the blank hooked up into the hand wrapper. Just want to show here on the hand wrapper you have these V-forks that they sit in, and then you have these kind of hair tie rubber band things, and they have little notches on the side. So what you do is locking it into one side, locking it into other. Now the blank's in here and you can rotate it. It holds it into place. So you're going to have one on either side of the base, and then there's a little side brace that's all the way somewhere towards the end. And then you're just going to move the rod based on, and you may have to, when you get towards the end, you'll put your base to the left as opposed to the right. So we got it all in. We have our thread in here. You have a washer on either end, spring in the middle, and then washer on the end before you put your nut. And then this controls your tension, kind of how the spring is. You're going to want to have the thread on this particular hand wrapper, want to have the thread coming over the top. If you do it from the bottom, it tends to loosen up this knob a little bit, so you want it to come over through the top. So we have our little tensioning device that snaps in there, and you can glue it in place with a little dab of super glue or something. And then we're going to take our thread, pass it through here, and then from here you can either come through the back or you can come through the front. Just kind of depends on how you are. I normally wrap my wrapper at home, not the hand wrap, but my main wrapper, it comes from the back, so I'll do it like this. But it's really, nothing really changes. It's just which way you go. So we're gonna start a wrap here, and you're gonna want to be roughly about an 1/8 of an inch. Actually, for the video, it might be easier to do this way. So you're going to want to start at about an 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm doing here is I am wrapping it, wrap it around, and then your tagget is on the inside, and then I'm holding it in place, and then I'm taking the line coming off the spool, and I'm just moving it over the top of that wrap that's already on there. Then I'm grabbing my tag end, and then we're going to rotate and bring that tag in up. So you're just wrapping that line over that tag end, and that's going to lock everything into place. Oh, I think I'm a little bit too tight. So hold your tag in until it kind of comes around. And there we have a started wrap. Got my tensioner a little bit too tight. So the tensioner is going to be a feel. It's wanting to really pull back on me, so I have it too tight to start. And in your kit, you're going to have your burnishing tool and your pick. And really, what they do is they're there to kind of help you kind of keep your threads packed as you wrap. I kind of got off track here a little bit. I'll push this closer so we don't have as much. So the thread wrap is really what holds your guide in place. And then when we put epoxy later, that just protects the threads. So we got our wrap started here. And then we're gonna cut this tag end off. And then we're gonna keep wrapping our guide here. And then you're gonna get to the guide foot. This is an Alps guide that comes with the kit, and it really has really nice already pre-ground feet, so it should go up that pretty easily. If you need to, you'd have to to kind of pick it, help it kind of maybe notch it over, whatever. But this should go on pretty easy. So we're gonna continue till we have we got the guide foot covered a good bit now, so we're gonna go ahead and snip off our, and just make sure you don't cut your, so have the nice little nippers that we have from before, and we can cut off our zip tie. So we're gonna continue wrapping our guide till we get to about a quarter of an, about an eighth of an inch from the end. So now we're gonna put in our pull-through loop. So the piece of thread, when you first do your first wrap, try to leave that piece of thread a little long, because you're gonna use that for your pull-through wrap. So you're gonna make a loop, you're gonna tuck it under. So that's leaving your loop to the way you're wrapping. So loop is to the, so we're wrapping from left to right here, at least I'm facing it left to right. So our loop's gonna be through that side. So we're gonna wrap over that a little bit. Till we get to the end. And then here, you're gonna hold your wrap into place, loosen up, pull some thread out, loosen that tension up a little bit, and you're gonna nip it. And then you're gonna take that tag in, put it inside your loop. Cut it a little bit too short. Put it inside your loop, and then grab the tag in of that pull through that we put, and pull this tight, just till it kind of barely snugs up underneath. Now we're gonna take our nippers and we're gonna cut the tag end nice and tight and just pull it through. And there we have a wrap. Burnishing tool is there just to kind of tighten everything up. And then we can have so there we have a wrap. I'll do one more on the single foot. Let me move this blank down here till we get a single foot down here. And we'll do a wrap, and I'll do some extra videos on inlays, and I have some on the YouTube channel, on the Voodoo Rod YouTube channel right now. But let me move this base to the heavy side over here. There we go. Yeah, so we have our single foot. So we'll go ahead. So I'll do one quick wrap, and we'll do just kind of like a little metallic inlay. So it'll just show you one more time how to wrap a guide, and then we'll throw a little added. So remember, leave this first part a little long so you have a nice pull through. So hold it in place, put it right over, grab your tag end, and then lock that into place. And our burnishing tool will help us keep it nice and straight. So now that I have a nice, now that I have a nice start, I'm going to take, in the kit, you're going to come with some metallic thread through. You can do your main wraps with metallic if you want. It's perfectly fine. But I'm going to cut about 10 to 12 inches of this, and we're going to do an inlay, just nice and quick, a little decorative. So we're going to take it, and we're just kind of locking it in underneath on the back side of the guide, so it's facing me now. So we're just taking it, we're kind of locking it in, and then you're going to take this and wrap it side by side. Oh, I got our little piece of our cut off here. Got fuzzy on us. So get past that. So lock it into place, and then you're going to hold it and you're going to wrap it side by side till you get to where you started. Hold it, take the long part, and you're going to pull it over till it actually, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, till it comes over. And now we have a nice little chrome silver inlay in our wrap. Go ahead, we're gonna nip those. I kind of did it close to the guide, but we're gonna wrap over here. We're gonna use our burnishing tool here to make sure everything is nice and tight. Continue on with our wrap. And once we get enough where we got that holding on, we'll snap I snapped it from the wrong side again. One side's much easier to snip off than the other. So once we get that, then we can tighten up this wrap a little bit, and then we're gonna continue. Oh, I went over. So to back off, just hold tension. If you happen to go over, just make sure that everything's kind of side by side. You don't wanna have any wrap over one another. You may have to do this every now and then. It's just kind of tighten up those wraps. And we're going to get close to the end, like I said, about 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch from the end. And we're going to take that pull through that we had, wherever I did it. Oh, here it is. Our piece of thread that we had, make our loop, put it in. The loop is towards the way we're wrapping. Wrap over, and we're gonna wrap all the way close to the end of the guide. You don't want to go all the way to the guide. You want to leave a little bit of space between your wrap in there. So again, hold with your finger, pull some tension so it doesn't snap back. Nip your main thread, put it in your loop, hold that tight, pull it through till it just tucks in your thread, snip it close, and pull through. And your burnishing tool you can go over, and this helps fill any little gaps that you had if you need to pack. And our little China mark that's on there, you can grab that little pull through thread and clean it up. There we go. So from here, you should be able to wrap all your guides. May take you some time, that's fine, be patient. Don't try not to get frustrated. The big key is gonna be your tension on here. You're gonna have to kind of dial that in. I think I still had mine just a little too tight. So it's to dial your tension in on here. So I'll wrap another guide or two here, and then we'll move on to epoxy and show you guys the next step of applying epoxy. All right, now you should have your rod completely wrapped, have all your guides wrapped. And we're gonna go ahead and do the final step, epoxy. I say final step, you're actually gonna do epoxy in 2 coats. Best way to do epoxy is to do one really thin coat up front, let that dry overnight. It'll spin on your rod dryer for minimum of 6 hours, but normally like kind of overnight, and you do a final coat, so 2 coats total. In your kit you have the rod dryer. It comes with a chuck and a stand. I have it kind of in the chuck. You plug it in, put the butt in the chuck, and then the stand on the other, and you see now it's rotating in the dryer right now. So you're gonna have to leave this in a, get it set in a spot, a table or something, in somewhere where it's not too cold, because once you put the epoxy on, it's gonna need to dry for, like I said, 6 to 8 hours once you do it. So we're gonna do a couple of guides here that show you the process. So in the kit, this is the Flex Coat rod finish. So it's got 12 cc. So you're really, to do a whole rod, you really need about 3 cc's, which is actually of each, and that's actually a little much, but it's a kind of a good thing. So you can actually do about 4 rods with this particular kit. It has cups, mixing stick, brushes. There's a purple and a yellow brush. Purple brush I like is a little bit smaller, and then you also have a little mini butane torch that comes with the kit, and that's just for kind of getting bubbles out towards the end. So we'll go ahead and mix the epoxy. So we're going to do 3 cc's of each. So we're at 12. We're going to get this down to 9. So that's the resin, and the hardener is always going to be a little bit off colored. That's the hardener. We're going to get that down to 9. There we go. And then we're going to stir this up. So you're going to stir this up for a minute to 2 minutes. It's gonna go cloudy, and then it's gonna get back to clear. So what you want to do, make sure that you do scrape the sides. I like to spin the cup in one hand and scrape with the other, and you're kind of folding. So you want to kind of give it a good mix. You're gonna see bubbles in there. You're gonna hear all kind of things if you're online. Kind of learning, which I highly encourage you to do. And look, you're going to see people talk about, bubbles in the cup is horrible, and pour it out into, it doesn't matter. If you do if you do this process I'm going to show you in light coats. Bubbles come out. Bubbles have to go somewhere, and you just have to give them somewhere to go. So, we'll go ahead and mix this up. Make sure you're scraping the sides and kind of folding. Like I said, you'll see it get cloudy, and you see it starting to get back clear. And once it gets back, pretty clear, then you know that you're mixed up. So some people say mix this for 2-3 minutes. That's overkill. That's really, a minute, maybe, if you're doing this right and you're scraping the side. Like I said, I'm spinning it with one hand, and I am stirring with the other. There are electric mixers you can buy, and they're fine if you're doing multiple things. They're not absolutely necessary, but I have one. I use it because I normally put my epoxy to mix, and while I'm doing other things, getting the rod, get ready to wrap, get my brush, that kind of stuff. Just if you do use a electric mixer, if you happen to kind of start wanting to get into it more and you get an electric mixer, even when you take it out the electric mixer, do this for 20-30 seconds, is scrape the sides, because those electric mixers don't, because it's just like a little stainless steel ball bearing kind of thing inside that's mixing it. It doesn't really get the sides. So scrape the sides. This little round stick that comes in there is perfect for that, and make sure you get it all mixed. So yeah, so now we have this mixture now. Now this, what comes in the kit you bought is a light build. So rod finish comes in light build and a high build. The main difference is the viscosity. You can see this is a little runny. This is going to help you get light coats, and I specifically put this in the kits because one of the big problems new builders normally have is putting way too much epoxy on your guide wraps. Your epoxy is there to just to protect the thread. That's it. It's not a glue. It's not any of that stuff. It's just, kind of get this centered here. It's just there to protect. So you don't need to goop it on and do all that. All we're doing is kind of trying to get this nice and clean. So we have it mixed. So this first coat we're going to do, get your brush loaded up, get it on there, and we're actually going to let the brush touch and get a light coat. On my first go, I like to slightly go over the edge on the opposite where the guide ring is to get a nice little bead right over. Oh, picking it up. And then here, I'm just kind of painting on this wrap. Now on our first coat here, I don't want to go past the thread. That's when you get kind of a buildup of epoxy. If you do a little bit, not that big of a deal, but you don't want to go past. Now, whenever you wrapped on either side of that kind of guide wrap where the foot is, it creates tunnels. So you just want to have enough epoxy on this first guide wrap, or this first, kind of enough to fill those tunnels. So whenever this dries, if you see kind of raw threads, that's perfectly fine. This first coat is really just to kind of get the guide, so get those tunnels filled. It's not, don't worry about what it looks like when it's finished. I'm kind of messing with this too much already, but you don't have to do anything. Just put it on, let it go, done. This is a self-leveling epoxy. It's gonna, it's designed to level itself. So don't worry about we're gonna get on to the next guide here. I'm gonna move this down in the camera. And we'll do another one. So all we're doing, here is just coating this first. On the dryer, you have to have a steady hand. There are like kind of speed things, or if you ever get into it, we have a power wrapper or something, it makes application a little bit easier. But just have a steady hand. Don't go too far over. Just want it barely over, just to give you that, make sure your thread is completely covered. Get it to the end. Like I said, on this first one, don't worry about going over the edge on the ring side. You want to go right up to that and leave it alone. We're going to go over it on the second one. So this is a light build. You don't need to put too much. You don't want it kind of building up behind there. Just enough to cover the thread. You can almost kind of squeegee it off with your brush if you see it. It's going to self-level. Don't worry about it. It's designed to do that. So that is how you apply epoxy. Now your little torch is just there because threads, especially if you put a good bit of epoxy, there may be some air bubbles that'll come to the surface. We don't really have any much right here. But all this is now this is a flame. This is a butane torch, so it's clean. It doesn't leave any soot marks or anything like that. But all you want to do is pass it over really quick. Don't let it sit. I'll do this one over here. Just kind of pass it over, and you'll see nice, and it'll start to liquefy. This is a light build, so it is light, and that's it. Done deal. Leave it alone, let it go, let it dry overnight. And then whenever this coat is dry, then you go ahead and you do a second coat. Just on the second coat, whenever you get to this ring side, just like we did here, we slightly went over the edge, then you'll slightly go over. You can already see the back of this is filling in because you don't want any water or anything getting under that guide, so you got to make sure your tunnels are full. And if you do it right, you can start seeing a little bit of buildup behind the guide, but not a ton of it. You don't want a bunch. You want it to barely just fill the back of the guide and know that your tunnels. If you do it right on the first coat, then when you do your second, you can do that second coat really thin. You can, have your brush, really pressed up against there and do a really light coat on top, and then barely go over the edge to give you a nice clean, just like you did on the right side. And again, let it dry, done deal. Your second coat is almost lighter than the first coat. You don't need a ton of epoxy. Can't stress that enough. You don't need to put a ton. People start getting it looks like footballs. Get it on there, paint it on, let you brush touch, wipe it on, done deal. Well, I'll show you a couple. So I have, this is a spinning rod that has one coat. So you'll see if I have one, you can almost see the threads kind of poking out through there. You see it like on the top. This is a nylon thread, so it gets a little transparent. But so this is just one coat. I have to put a second coat on this one. But you can kind of see that's what I want. I want barely. I don't want that a big buildup. I have barely a little bit of buildup behind the guide, enough to make sure that my tunnels are full, and that's great. You can see in the larger guide, you can see how I don't have any buildup, just nice clean. Now my next one's going to be a really light coat that'll finish that one off. And what it'll look like after a second coat is like this. That's I grabbed it out of it's just a little dusty. But you'll see just a nice clean, not too much, and it levels out. You don't need a ton of it. It's just a little dusty. You don't need a ton of epoxy. So first coat, let that dry, put your second coat, and after that, your rod should be complete. Well, that's it for our tutorial. Hope it really helped you guys out and it had all the information that you need. Whenever you're done, here's a couple examples of what you should have. This is the spinning split cork, just with some black wraps on a pink blank, and then here we have a split spinning with the EVA with some green wraps. So really hope you guys have fun building your rod. If you have any questions, always reach out to us, info@voodoorods.com or voodoorods@cox.net, cox.net. We're happy to answer any questions. We're sure you're going to have some questions. We have no problems answering. We really prefer emails. Voodoo Rods is a two-man operation. It's me and my wife LaDonna, and so getting to the phone is not always easy. So, but emails comes to our computers, comes to our phones, and we can get to it much quicker. So again, thank you all for purchasing the kit. Hope you really have fun, and if you need anything, always reach out. Thanks a lot.